How do you imagine the world in 10, 15 years?
Well, there are a lot of things going on here in Barcelona. I'm attending Mobile World. So what are the important things? There are sort of 5 key areas that they're focusing on. 5G, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. They're also dealing with new applications that are being brought forward and so forth, robotics, you name it. So we're now seeing transformation in a way that 5 years ago we would not have even begun to talk about it. So 10 years from now, I'm seeing communities looking at themselves and asking the question that technology is becoming so pervasive. Data is becoming such a big part of our communities that we have to be concerned about the quality of life, the issues of livability. And I'm beginning to see a trend away from the technology, particularly among urban planners, architects, those people looking at how quality of life may actually be part of what we always understood to be good urban development, and that is people being able to walk and enjoy the concepts of walking, bicycles as part of the mobility chain, the ideas of high efficiency and low cost to be able to do things that are part of the quality of life, but you don't have to pay so much money for the simple things. And people are looking for that. I think that cities are going to design structures, mobility capabilities, so that people have not only the efficiency, but have that concept of high quality je ne sais quoi about what their community and what their city is about. I think that we're going to learn a lot about cities over the next 10 years. There's a sense of wanting to benchmark and learn from each other, that the challenges that currently exist in many communities, very similar challenges because of climate change or what have you, are going to be shared, whether it's commercially made available or just shared because people feel that they should share. And people are going to take advantage of those solutions and be able to apply them in their communities. And for some communities, you won't even notice the transformation. You'll just expect them to be there.
Do you see some cities, big cities, working on that way?
Yeah, so I think that some of the big cities, the policies, the organizations in those cities are looking for ways to create a better sense of community. So I'll give you an example. Melbourne, Australia. Melbourne is considered to be the highest quality of life according to The Economist for the last 10 years. So they have a lot of pressure on them to continue to create that sense of high quality of life. They have a city department that just focuses on developing policies and programs to ensure that continues on and always improves. Their smart city department, I observed it last year, has many programs that will continue to grow their community's livability. People are looking at that and saying that's the kind of thing we need to do in our communities. So they go to the Intelligent Community Forum because one of the things that we do is we benchmark cities every year. We get hundreds of applications and we pick 21 cities every year that we examine. From those 21 cities, we call them smart cities or smart 21 communities. We pick 7. Those top 7 cities are then benchmarked, are promoted around the world as the best examples for that year based on a particular theme. This year's theme is humanizing data. Last year it was the Internet of Cities and so forth. And what we do is we say, if you're interested in being like Taipei, here are the things that they're doing in Taipei this year and previous years. And you might find certain solutions that they have already dealt with as part of their challenges through this kind of benchmarking approach. So we share that information all over the world. Once a year we have a gathering and we showcase those 7 cities by looking deeply into how each of those cities work. How did they do what they're doing that makes them such a great, intelligent community? People will come and they will observe how those 7 cities are doing what they're doing, and maybe that might inspire them, or it might educate them enough so that when they go back to their communities, they say, you know, maybe we're not going to exactly copy it, but maybe there are some things from what we've just learned that we might be able to apply. So many communities are beginning to investigate these kinds of solutions or ideas that other communities are doing. So when you look at the work that Sidewalk Labs is doing to investigate a specific area of a city, and then they're going to replicate that information, we do that every year with 7 cities and 21 other communities by sharing that same sort of information. And hopefully that will inspire other communities to do the same.
Yeah. When you described how you imagine the future 10, 15 years from now, it resounds me the values of millennials and next generation they have. When I travel a lot to Mexico City, and you know the problems of mobility they have, and I say, well, we and previous generations have created a problem, and next generation will solve it because they don't want to have car. So they will need to invent another way to move into the city. And I want to ask you, what would you say to next generation in order to contribute to this, to create an intelligent community?
I think that the next generations, they're already beginning to go in those directions. They're taking a look at what's important in life. Having a car is not necessary. That's an older generation's perspective. I think what the future generation is looking for is how can they live a happy, collaborative, and high quality of life in a community through the kind of mobility that a community can offer them, but also the kinds of new jobs that are possible. Jobs that used to be the way that we worked in the past aren't necessarily the way that they're going to be able to work in the future. There's going to be continuous learning. There's going to be a lot more sharing. There's opportunities for people to travel, obviously, in different ways than what we're used to. So I think that's all part of learning to move into the next century. On the other hand, I would urge them to look at the past and learn from the past, and to not throw away values and ideas just because they're the old ideas. There's probably a great value in many of our ideas from the past that they need to take advantage of. Certainly there are strengths in communities, particularly when they look at some of their smaller and rural communities. There's a great value in what happens in those communities that shouldn't just be overlooked. And yet, when you go into the big cities, there's so much that can be done to help save how those big cities are going to survive in the future.
What will be the competencies that you think they need to improve?
So moving forward, I think people need to have a good handle on the sciences, because in the world of this sort of level of transformation, people need to have a good grasp of maths and sciences moving forward. In fact, there are people who will say that it's important that algorithms are taught in schools, that people need at very early stages to be able to write code. And that's no different than 100 years ago, people saying we need to have math and sciences being taught in schools. It wasn't. So now we're in a different mindset. We need to, in fact, go the next level and actually understand how code is written in communities, in schools. And so that's the first thing. Children also need to be taught entrepreneurialism. As I mentioned before, the way we're going to do business in the future is not the way we're doing, will be different than the way we're doing business today and in the past. So entrepreneurialism is a very important part of educating kids in schools. On the other hand, kids also need to know how to read. There are a lot of children in today's world that aren't reading. They're being involved with media, and they're being involved with the internet, but they're not reading, they're not writing, they're not really keeping the sense of communication and the quality of communication at the same level as they should. So I think it's important that math, sciences, and some of the normal education is properly put forward.